There's no audio for the intro video, so you get the song again. Here we go. What is this? A little scuffed today, but we're here and we're not late. Yo, what's up? All right. T. Mormon, thank you for the 9 months. Hello. Today we are speaking with James from Crash Wildlife. Scuffed, but still cool, yeah. We didn't have a podcast last week because James was having issues with his radio network. SG, thank you for the 5 months, different SG. He was having issues with his radio network this week. He is here. It is dark in South Africa, so his video is a little dark, but hopefully that won't be too much of a problem. I'm just glad that we're talking to him today and that we're making this happen. I was connected to this organization through family, and they reached out to me, not the organization, my family reached out to me and said that this organization is struggling because of COVID, like a lot of other organizations that we've talked to that for this podcast. How do I donate? I think you can do command donate, but you can also go to a link in my panel. We're connected to their PayPal today, so the money is going straight to them. Ratchet, thank you for the $5. On their website, it says, we at Crash work hard to raise awareness and donations for our causes. We do this through the organization of events, fundraisers, and more. Their goal is to... Oh, I lost it. Part of our core values include working to establish legitimate, trustworthy connections with other facilities around the world who are doing groundbreaking work for endangered species. So we got $5 and $10. Wait, Ratchet, that's awesome. Thank you so much. And KZ, thank you for the 10. Poaching is lame. You're right. Which is why we're speaking with James today. You guys probably saw the pictures on my socials. James works with he has a dog with him in South Africa where he lives named Puma, who is a Weimaraner, like Bella, which is really neat. So we're going to learn about what he does. Devoted, thank you for the $26. We're going to learn about what he does with Puma out there. James does the anti-poaching stuff for Crash Wildlife. He also will be involved in Crash's Namibia project, which is they're working on building a wildlife rehab center out there, like you saw in the video, which will stimulate the economy and protect really important species over there in South Africa. James also does work with he consults for rhino reserves on policy solutions for the poaching epidemic. So he advocates for legal, sustainable horn trade, with recommendations from the South African National Biodiversity Institute. So we'll get to talk to him about that as well. Should be really interesting. You can donate by clicking a link in my panel. A couple things for the podcast. Your donations are going straight to them today. which is really, really important for them. Again, they are struggling because of COVID. So thank you for donating if you're able to. There is a quiz at the end of these podcasts. It'll be a super casual conversation. This is James's first time doing anything with media. Cindy, thank you for the 3 months. He has been completely isolated for about 8 months. It says he doesn't talk to people very much. So he's a little bit nervous, but I am very excited to I'm very excited to have him on today. Chef, thank you for the sub. And Cindy, thank you for the 5. And S-Raid with a big $77.77. Thank you. So again, this will be a super casual conversation about anti-poaching and about what James does. Dobbins, did I say something wrong already? Flaming, thank you for the $5. Why are you, Pepe, laughing? What did I say wrong? Warber with $20. Okay, so there's a quiz at the end of the podcast. Okay. There's a quiz at the end of the podcast, where there are 5 questions based on my conversation with James today. 20 seconds per question. You win the quiz if you get the most questions right the fastest. It is a time thing. If you win the quiz, if you're not already subbed, on my channel, I'll gift you a sub. If you are already subbed, I will gift you a sub to a channel of your choice. What's up, Andrew? Or you can ask me to add an additional $5 to the total today for Crash. Street Chemist, thank you for the $11. Jeez. $165. Fantastic start. Thank you guys. And Knight, thank you for the 5 months. Cool. Am I missing anything? I don't think I am. Yes, I am. If you have a question, you can do #ask. And then follow just by your question, that's it, and it'll send it into a doc for me, that I'll be able to look over. I think that's it. You can do command ask if you need more instructions for that, yeah. Holy sugar. Tripod with $100.02. Tripod. Thank you so much. You're insane. Okay. Oh, Chuck, you're here. Chuck, can you help me with the questions? Okay. How do I... Let's see. Okay. Questions. Here we go. And it's 2 cents. Big time. Okay. So we already got a couple questions here. But before we ask those questions, I really just want to ask about what it is that James does out there, what it's like out there, what he and his dog do. We'll ask a little bit about his background. It should be a really interesting podcast. He's an interesting guest. So that's the plan for today. Give me a minute to call him. I will see you guys in like 2 seconds. I'm sorry that we don't have a start screen today. But give me like a minute. Probably less than a minute.
Hey, sorry about
Hi.
that.
No
How's it
worries at
going?
all. Good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
All right. Let's see, chat. Let's see if this works. Hold on. Too loud. On. Okay. Hold on. Try again. Is this better? Cool. Okay. Hi. How are you? Thank you so much for doing this today. I know it's. What time is it for you?
It is 20 past 6 in the evening here.
There you go. All right. So it's a little dark. I hope that's okay, chat. But we're gonna do this the best we can. We have raised $265 so far for Crash just in this intro.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, it happened super
Amazing. Thanks,
fast.
guys.
I'm really excited. So I gave a little intro about. Actually, could you turn down your volume on your device a little bit? I can hear myself. Some.
Sure. There we go. Is that better?
Sounds like it. Yeah. Okay. I think we're good. So
All
I
right.
did a little bit of an intro about what Crash does and a little bit about what you do, but to be honest, I don't fully understand what it is that you do out there, but I'm super excited to learn about it. Can you just introduce yourself and tell us what you do out there with Puma and with your work?
Sure. Absolutely. Okay. So my name's James, and it gets a little bit complicated because I fulfill several different roles.
Okay.
In conservation, we end up double hatting an awful lot and working outside our own area of expertise. So I'll try and make it as streamlined as I can.
Okay.
Um, so first off, I work with Puma, he's a multi-purpose anti-poaching canine, which means that he bites, he tracks, and he'll do detection. So he'll find rhino horn, pangolin scales, that kind of thing.
Oh, cool.
So that's one aspect of it. Um, then we also provide a research capability to the reserve that I'm on in South Africa. So what that is Puma will track and monitor certain endangered or keystone species that we have here, and we'll use that to give us a better idea about management practices, and give us an idea of population density.
Okay.
So that's kind of what I'm doing on site here, and Crash facilitates that by providing funding, which keeps us out here basically.
Okay.
So your lovely donors provide food for Puma, and his medical bills, things like that. So
That's
that's
awesome.
really that's much appreciated.
How did you get
Um,
involved with Crash?
so I got involved with Crash through a personal connection actually. So Noel, the founder, is a friend of mine. We met a couple of about a year ago, 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
We met in Namibia. We were both working on different projects then, and one of the issues that we've come across repeatedly in our separate careers is that non-profits and the conservation sector in general is it often lacks some of the transparency that we'd like it to have. People provide funding, and unfortunately, it doesn't always go where it's supposed to. So Noelle approached me with this idea. She wanted to set up a non-profit to get funding in and then provide it directly to places that had high levels of transparency, so that people knew what they were paying for,
Okay.
and that the donations would go to science-led policies.
Okay. Cool. And then what? So what is it about? How did you get into using canines for anti-poaching, and what are the advantages of that as opposed to other anti-poaching
Sure.
systems?
So for me, it's a very complicated and long story. But I got into working with canines a couple of years ago. I was leading an expedition walking across Africa coast to coast, and I ended up breaking my leg and staying with an anti-poaching unit in South Africa for a little while. And they were working with dogs. Puma was one of the dogs that they had in for assessment at the time, and the two of us just hit it off. We kind of became inseparable. Um, and so I decided that I'd stick around. So I ended up staying down here.
That's so neat.
Um, so that's kind of our story. As far as the advantages of using a canine, so they can see better than we can at night. They can smell an awful lot better than we can. Puma has about 220 million scent receptors in his nose. So he's got a highly adapted sense of smell. And studies have suggested that they can even smell the electrical impulses that happen within our nervous system. So they know what we're going to do before we know what we're going to do. So he's an incredibly useful asset, particularly when it comes down to working with dangerous game out in the bush, or working around suspects who might be quite volatile. He can see things and smell things that I can't pick up on, particularly at night. So that's probably the main advantage. There are also some disadvantages of working with a canine. Dogs don't like the heat, as I'm sure you know. So in Africa, it gets extremely hot. So we have lots of sort of very careful protocols that we put in place to make sure that he stays safe while we're out and about.
Okay. And you said a while ago, we spoke a while ago, you said you've been isolated. Is it just the two of you out there, you and Puma, or are you living with others?
So we live on our own, and that's kind of for the dog's sake as much as anything else. If there's lots of people coming and going, it can be quite distracting. So we live on our own, and then there's a team of field rangers here, and then there's a day team as well. So we rotate around, so there's always people watching the perimeters. It's a private reserve, so the perimeter is fenced in, and we focus our efforts on stopping people from getting in rather than trying to find them once they get in.
Oh, okay. How large is the preserve?
So this one is between 3,000 and 4,000 hectares. I'm not trying to be cryptic. It's just with rhino, we try not to be too specific about
it.
things.
So that's like just 7.5k acres for.
Yeah, sounds about right.
That's a lot of land to cover. Wow.
Yeah.
Han, thank you for the $77. We're at $352.98. Thank you guys so much.
Oh my god! Wow, amazing.
We have a few questions that have come through chat. I'd like to start asking you some of these. So Max asked, "What is your favorite thing about your job?"
Wow. Okay. I mean, I hang out with my dog all day, so that's pretty cool.
Nice.
If I had to be perfectly honest, I see some things that people don't see, and that's pretty cool. Just by virtue of being out on the ground all the time, you get to be up close with some pretty amazing animals, and you witness behaviors that people don't see too often. So, like the rhinos here, for example, they might all kind of look the same, but you get to know the individuals, and you get to get a feel for how one's going to react over the other. We've got a big bull here called Shrek. He's probably the grumpiest rhino I've ever come across. Massive, and he just doesn't want to listen to anything. He doesn't pay any attention to anyone. I suppose when you're nearly 3 tons, you don't have to care. Right. So that's pretty cool. Getting to see some of those behaviors up close, on foot. That's something not many people get to enjoy.
That's awesome. You mentioned in our messages you do work with the sustainable horn trade for rhinos.
Yes. Okay. So I'll try and cover this as briefly as possible, because there's a lot of kind of in-depth legality that needs to be discussed, I suppose. So rhinos are being poached for their horn, right? And that horn is cut right out. When poachers shoot a rhino, without trying to be too graphic, they'll cut down into the skull and pull the root of the horn out. When they do that, they get maybe 5 kilos of horn from that animal.
Dude,
and the animal dies for it. The horn itself is keratin. It's the same material as our fingernails, but actually it's very close to hair in its consistency. It looks like really, really tightly wound fibers. So they pull this out, and that will be sent off primarily to the Far East. And it serves two purposes there. So the first purpose is manufactured into luxury goods. So they'll cut statues out of it, fancy goblets, bowls, things like that, hair combs. And then the other use is as a medicinal powder for traditional Chinese medicine, TCM. And it's very sad, right? These animals are dying for an essentially worthless product. It provides no medicinal value whatsoever, and the material is keratin. It's the same stuff as our fingernails. It shouldn't be valuable. So these carvings out of it, it's kind of counterintuitive to us from a Western perspective that this should be so valuable.
Yeah.
That being said, rhino horn grows constantly, same as our fingernails, same as our hair. So lots of the reserves started a process that we call dehorning or trimming, where they get a vet in and they dart the rhino, so the rhino's tranquilized, and then they'll cut the horn above the live tissue. So if you think when you cut your fingernails, it doesn't hurt you. You cut the dead bit at the end. Same as your hair, it's just trimming away. And what's been happening over the last kind of 10, 20 years that this has been happening, these horns get put into secure storage in a stockpile. They gather dust. It costs an awful lot of money to keep those horns secure. They have to be DNA tested. Microchips are put in them so that if they show up on the black market, we know where they came from.
Right.
Every year, a rhino will yield 1 to 2 kilos of horn that you trim off. Now there's two benefits to trimming it. It's not just that we do it because we feel like it. So the first benefit is it makes the rhino less attractive to a poacher. If they have less horn, hopefully the poacher won't want to shoot them.
Right.
There's been some data to suggest that it works, but generally speaking, what's been found is poachers will still shoot the animal because there's 2 inches of horn left there, and that's still worth a lot of money.
Jeez.
The other advantage of dehorning or trimming is that your population growth increases. So rhinos kill each other more frequently than many other African mammals. I don't want to say all, but they kill each other an awful lot, and that's the primary purpose of that horn. So when you trim that horn, the older bulls don't kill the younger bulls. And so your population growth actually goes from about 8 to 9%, which is what's observed in reserves that don't trim, to 10 to 11% in reserves that do trim. So if you want to increase the population size of an endangered or threatened species, you need them to breed more. So dehorning actually makes them breed faster. There have been no adverse effects observed at all in any long-term study.
Okay.
So widely accepted husbandry practice.
Very cool. Very interesting. Thank you.
That's all right. It's baffling, right? This is the most pointless extinction, the most easily avoidable extinction. If they grow the product that people want, and it grows back every year, why kill the animal for the product when you can trim the product, sell it to the consumers that want it, and then reinvest that money into protecting their natural habitat, which in turn protects other species that live here.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that totally makes sense. JC tipped $200, Health tipped $7, and Ad with $3. That brings us to $583. Thank you guys so much. JC, that's a ridiculous donation. Thank you.
Amazing. Thanks so much.
Okay, let's see. So we have so many questions. I'm trying to think of how to segue. Okay, so this is a really super loaded question that I'm sure there are many answers to, but LP asked, how do you stop the poachers?
How do you stop the poachers? All right. Okay, good question. The best way to stop a poacher is to remove the incentive for poaching.
Okay.
So I don't want to be a one-track horse, but if rhino horn is being sold to the commercial market legally, there is no illegal market anymore. The illegal market can't survive. Right. So at the moment, poachers send about 5 metric tons every year to the Far East, and that comes from animals that have been killed. With the stockpiles that currently exist, private reserves could send 25 tons a year for the next 15 years without losing a single animal.
Wow.
So they could completely crush the existing supply. And by doing that, they would outstrip demand. So that's one way, right? That's the economics of it. Mm-hmm. There are some people who will be determined to engage in illegal activities, no matter what opportunities are there, or no matter how great the risk is. Mm-hmm. It's always preferable to stop people without any injury or without any loss of life, but sometimes that's not possible. So it kind of depends on what they want to do. If they're carrying a firearm and they choose to use that, then unfortunately we have to defend ourselves.
Right. Okay. So then Raf had asked, have you ever personally encountered poachers in the action?
Yes, I have. And so there's different levels of poaching. So anything that lives on somebody's private land is considered their property in South Africa. So if you have a bunch of antelope running around, they're your antelope. If you have fish in a dam, they're your fish. So anybody that comes and takes them is a poacher. Mm-hmm. So there's different levels to the illegal trade in wildlife. On the one hand, you've got bushmeat poaching, which is killing things to sell the food or the skins. Right. And then you've got the higher kind of syndicate level of things, pangolins, rhino horn, elephant ivory to some extent. Mm-hmm. And it's quite common to come across the bushmeat poaching. It's less common to come up against the syndicate activity. Out here on this particular reserve, touch wood, we haven't lost an animal to poaching in 3 years now.
Wow, that's wonderful.
So it can be stopped, and having robust security measures certainly helps. Right. But yeah, there's different tiers to it.
Okay. Riz with $5, thank you. Okay, so there are lots of questions about Puma. One of them being, how did you pick a Weimaraner? That's right, yeah, so they know, my chat knows my dog. I have a Weimaraner, but she is nothing like yours, I'm sure. So how do you pick that breed? Are they mostly Weimaraners? Is it all over the place?
Sure. Weims are kind of unusual as working dogs, but they make a lot of sense in this particular job. So when people think working dogs, you think German Shepherds, you think Belgian Malinois, like tough military dogs. Mm-hmm. But actually, one of the things that you need a dog most for out here is his nose. Mm-hmm. And Weims have incredible detection capability. They've got fantastic noses. So a little bit of breed history, I'm going to geek out. So Weimaraners were bred originally to hunt bears and wild boars in Western Europe, in the Weimar region of Germany. A lot of that is still in them. So they have this tremendous bravery and courage. They'll take on something that's significantly larger and more dangerous than they are, because that's what they're genetically bred for. They also have a remarkable sense of smell, and they will track for days. They have a ridiculously high drive. Mm-hmm. So when you put those two things together, you have a perfect working dog for the bush. That being said, he's a hunting dog, and we're here to protect wildlife. So, I'm sure you've all had your pets go and chase squirrels and stuff, and that's something that we have to watch out for here.
Okay.
So, there are some pros and cons, but it's his nose. His nose is great.
Space, yeah. So Space also asked, does Puma have any issues with the wildlife there? So that's one of them.
Yep. So he doesn't like it. He doesn't like the monkeys.
Okay.
So the monkeys will come. They'll steal. I've got a lemon tree out back, so they'll come and they'll steal lemons from the tree, and then he'll chase them away, and it's a fun game for them.
Okay.
Monkeys are too smart, so he'll chase them away. He really doesn't like snakes, but he can tell the difference by scent between venomous and non-venomous snakes, and he acts accordingly.
That's handy.
So he'll indicate for a non-venomous snake, and then for a venomous snake, he kind of does this movement with his head. So he kind of puts his nose towards it and then pulls away because he's scared. So he'll do that, which tells me it's a venomous snake. Other than that, we don't have too many issues, but it's always in the back of your mind when you're working out in the bush with a dog. You're not just watching out for yourself; you're looking for what he might get into as well. And,
yeah, my mom has two we're a big Weimaraner family. Hers just got bit by a rattlesnake like 2 weeks ago. So he does not know, but he's fine. Warren with $20. Lionel was $6. Yeah, okay, with $20. Thank you at $635. Okay.
Incredible, thank you.
Other questions? Okay, that was a couple good questions about Puma. One interesting question that I'm sure there are lots of answers to. Koopa with $50. Thank you so much. Is what is your daily routine? Do you have one? Or is it different every day?
Okay. It is kind of different every day. So some of it when you're working with a dog is just weather dependent.
Okay.
If it's 45 C outside, I'm sorry, I don't know Fahrenheit.
No, that's fine.
If it's hot, if it's really hot, then we can't work as much, which means I have to spend a lot of my time keeping him entertained inside. You can hear him pining now because there's a rhino outside.
Oh.
Yeah. So come here. So yeah, it kind of varies. Generally speaking, we're up around 5 a.m. We go out and do some training, and potentially some tracking. It kind of depends what we're needed for. And then by kind of 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, we're coming back in. We're chilling out. Puma, come here. Sorry, let me just.
Sorry. No, whatever you need.
Sorry, there's a rhino bull that comes and he digs up my water pipes from outside, so he can hear him. It's bothering him.
We just pulled up a video on YouTube of Puma watching the rhinos here. Chat, this is that video. It's very cute. Seems to like them.
Sorry?
He seems to like them in this video. He's just watching them. Sweet.
Oh yeah. He. It's quite funny. Like they'll come right up to you. They're very curious animals. They're not aggressive, which some people seem to think that they would be. That they'll charge you and what have you. Mm-hmm. Generally speaking, they're quite chilled out. But obviously, I don't recommend going up close to wild animals. Right. I mean, I think if it's the video I'm thinking of, we're sat still and it's approaching us, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it's one thing for a wild animal to approach you. It's something very different for you to go up to the animal. I know that particular cow quite well. She's very chilled out. She's fairly young still, and she was coming to see what we were. She got a little bit too close, so I stood up, and then she ran away. But yeah, don't try that at home.
Right.
Please.
Not that many of us, but
yeah.
Okay. Okay, more questions about dog breeds. We already kind of answered that. Lois, thank you for the $12. Vegito with $20. Anonymous with $20. Thank you. Okay.
I'm blown away. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, they're coming in really fast. You guys that are donating, thank you. Okay, let's. Okay, so we have lots of questions about dissolving situations with with poachers, and what are the security risks of going against poachers? You've kind of touched on those. You don't need, talk about them as much as you feel comfortable talking about them, but I think they're interested in really what it looks like.
Sure. Okay. So I'm going to talk very broadly rather than what's necessarily here, because again, we try to not go into specifics. So generally speaking, on a private reserve, you have your perimeter, as I mentioned earlier. And the easiest way to protect the animals inside the reserve is to stop anyone from coming in. So you'll have electrified fences, and there are issues with electrified fences, right? Animals can get caught in them, animals can die in them, particularly tortoises, pangolins, things like that like to crawl under, and then as a defense mechanism, stay still or curl up into a ball as with a pangolin. So it's not a perfect system, and we do have measures in place to kind of prevent that from happening. But there'll be an electric fence, and each wire will have sensors attached to it. So if the wire is cut or the wire is triggered, the sensors will alert, and the general aim for private reserves is to have a response there within 8 minutes.
Okay.
So if you think an animal gets stuck in that wire, within 8 minutes somebody's there and they remove it.
Right.
So that's our deconfliction for the wildlife. If it's a poacher who's cutting that wire, within 8 minutes somebody's on top of them. So hopefully they haven't had a chance to get through the 2 levels of fencing that exist. Some reserves use radar systems that will tell them when a human's approaching. And they have quite sophisticated AI now that can detect, is it a human, is it an antelope, is it a rhino, is it a lion? And so there's some quite clever machine learning happening. Some people use drones as well. There's some fantastic UAS platforms out there, unmanned aerial systems. And they'll patrol their perimeters with drones. But all of this costs money. So it's kind of a trade-off. At the moment, there's no tourism, there's no hunting, so there's no revenue for any of the reserves, and there is no trade at the moment in sustainable rhino horn. So there is no money, so people are having to manage things very, very carefully. Again, without trying to go into too many specifics on that.
No, that's great. Thank you. Yeah, we talked about drones on our podcast before last. We had a conservation tech podcast, so we got to talk about all that stuff a little bit. That's really neat. Yeah. Danny tipped $15, Rothman with $10. Danny asked a question with his donation, said, how does he go about tracking the rhinos?
Sure. All right. Rhinos are actually really easy to track.
Okay.
Because they're so big and they're so destructive.
Right.
So you've got an animal that weighs 2.5 tons for white rhinos, which is what we have here, and they leave massive tracks, like enormous tracks. So you can actually track them very easily just as a visual tracker. The problem comes when you have several different rhinos in the same area, and they walk over the top of each other's tracks. And as a human being, you can get distracted between which one you're supposed to follow. So one of the advantages of using a dog is he will distinguish between the smell of the one rhino that we're looking for versus the other rhino that are around.
That's handy.
So he'll stay on the one that we're looking for, and we'll find that individual rather than find a completely different individual.
Okay, very cool.
It's kind of like cheat codes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for rhinos, it's quite easy. One of the other animals that we do a lot of monitoring on is pangolins, ground pangolins.
Yes.
So Puma's trained to detect pangolin scales, but also to detect live pangolin and to track live pangolin. They're very small animals, kind of at the heavier end, 10, 11 kilos, somewhere around there. And they have very slight tracks. It's only their back 2 feet really that make any impact on the ground. And they have very small feet. It's sort of the same size as a rabbit's foot.
Okay.
So if you think of trying to track a rabbit, you're not going to find his footprints, right? So the best that we'll find is maybe the digs where they've been foraging for ants or termites. So Puma's a great asset in that regard because he'll pick up the scent and give us an idea of the home range or the territory that that animal is using, and maybe help us find the burrow that that animal is in, so we can get an idea of population density.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, you guys have, Crash has a expert pangolin researcher. I'm not really sure what the title is, but we're hoping to have them come on the podcast in the future to talk about that.
Yes, yeah. I won't go into too much detail. She's far more knowledgeable than I am. Yeah, that's going to be a great podcast, I'm sure.
Cool, good stuff. I don't know that we've really talked about pangolins before. But they're really neat. I pulled up a couple videos while you were talking from the website of the digging and of one wallowing in some water.
Cool.
They're so
yeah,
cool.
they're bizarre animals. Yeah, they're just one of the things where you see them walking around and they just don't make sense as an animal.
Yeah, no kidding.
There's nothing else like them.
Can we thank you for the $15? My sister spent a year in Ghana, and in the village she was living in, they did a lot of hunting for bushmeat. And she called me one day and she was telling me about this crazy animal that they had found, which is super unfortunate. But she didn't know what a pangolin was, and she was trying to describe it to me. And she was like, "I think it was a reptile, but I also think it was an anteater." And I'm just like so confused with this. Like, it looked like a dragon. I was like, "Oh my god, it was a pangolin. That sucks." Tano, thank you for the $10. Kemi with the 15. We're at $787.20.
Wow.
Thank you guys so much. Okay, let's do a couple more questions here. How old is Puma? I didn't ask that.
How old is Puma? So Puma is 3. He'll be turning 4 the 23rd of October.
Okay, so you met him when he was like a puppy then, huh?
Yeah, so I met him. He'd already had one job working with lions, and I won't go into where because there were allegations of abuse with the handler that was working for him, with him. So Puma came to the organization that I was staying at for assessment and retraining if possible, and he was just a wreck. I mean, he wouldn't even sit on command. He was just chaotic, but he really wanted to please, and he really wanted to work. He's got a really high drive. So we were just kind of hanging out quite a lot, he and I, and we kind of hit it off. So it was, it was pretty cool.
That's awesome. Okay, speaking of lions, LP had asked, have you run into situations with other animals like lions and such? We've heard that you have monkeys around you, you have pangolins, you have rhinos. What else do you have out there?
Sure. So we've previously had a run-in with a couple of honey badgers. Yeah, that was one of the scariest nights of my life. So we were out tracking. We'd had a call out, so we went to investigate, and Puma indicated that there was a predator around. He has different indications for different animals. Most of being a dog handler is just reading your dog's body language and what he's trying to tell you. So he indicated that there was a predator around, but I didn't know which one. Okay. I didn't recognize this indication. So we followed it for a little bit, and I thought, all right, this is kind of weird. I'm not sure what it is, but it's definitely not a human, so I'm not worried about it. So we turned to walk away. As we kind of moved away, I ran some white light, and I saw a little bit of eye glint, and it was red, and then it was gone. And then, sorry. So there was this glint, and then it was gone, and then there was another glint. So I kind of angled around with my torch and picked up the glint. 2 sets of eyes, picked out the profile of them. It was these 2 honey badgers that were sort of following each other, walking almost in file, and then split up. And they were almost moving around us at that point. So yeah, that was pretty,
Oh, hi, Puma.
So that was pretty terrifying. So we backed away very, very carefully. Honey badgers are really interesting animals. Actually, they have this rap as being real badasses and really mean, but they're not kind of deliberately aggressive. It seems more that they kind of walk around with their noses to the ground, not really looking where they're going, and then they find themselves in dangerous situations. They defend themselves very aggressively. But it's not that they go out of their way like looking for trouble. They're just ridiculously tough animals. They're not really afraid of anything. So that was pretty scary. Other animals we have here, we've got leopards, we've got hyena. We don't have any lions here, but he's been around lions before. I've had some close encounters with lions before. Again, they don't really want to hurt you. It's kind of like sharks. So when you're in the water, the shark sees you and doesn't think of you as food. When you're walking around the bush, a lion will see you. They don't necessarily think of you as food, especially if they're in a very wild area where there isn't much human interaction. So they don't really have any reason to go after you, but they'll often come in to sort of probe you. And they might mock charge you or kind of come up quite close. The worst thing that you can do with anything that potentially wants to eat you is run away from it. That confirms that you're prey.
Right.
So with lions, you kind of have to stand your ground, which feels really counterintuitive. Like you should try and get a head start on them. But you're going to die tired if you run from a lion. So you might as well stand there, and they normally back down.
Right.
Again, don't try this at home, please.
I was gonna say I don't know that I could stand there if a lion mock charged me. Luckily, you guys again probably won't have the opportunity to try that at home. So, but that's
yes, but just no one sue me if you do.
Right. Okay. Perfect. Rago with $30, Notorious with $3, Jude with $10. Thank you guys for those donations.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see. Other questions. We have time for a couple more here. Notorious asked, is there an animal you feel most obligated to protect from poaching efforts?
Ooh, it's a tough one. I don't think there's any one animal. But that being said, you kind of have to approach it sort of scientifically. Which animals are threatened, which animals are endangered, and then also think about the poachers themselves. So as I mentioned earlier, like people coming and taking fish from somebody's lake, they're poachers technically. If it's a starving family, which I've come across before, a starving family of 4 and they're taking some fish from the wrong stretch of the river, are you going to treat them the same way as you're going to treat a guy who's come in with a rifle to shoot a rhino? No, right. You're not.
Yeah.
You have to have some empathy and treat people with some human dignity. There's a lot of poverty out here. People are really struggling, especially now with COVID. So it's not that one of them is a lesser offense. It's just that one of them is somebody trying to survive, and the other one is somebody trying to massively enrich themselves by killing endangered animals. And that's where I kind of draw my line. But it's always moving. You have to evaluate with every situation that you're in.
Right. Okay. Rowdy with $20, Josh with $78.07.
Wow! Oh my gosh! Thanks, guys.
$928.07. Thank you guys so much. Okay, someone asked me earlier to finish the thing about your daily routine. I thought that we had finished that question. Maybe I had interrupted you.
Yeah, sorry. I think Puma came in and was shaking his head and stuff and causing chaos. Okay, so yeah, we start early in the morning. 5 o'clock in the morning. We'll go out and do some training, or we might go out and do some tracking first thing. It kind of depends what we need it for. Then we'll come in. Puma will eat. I might do some training myself, and then if needed, he can stay here and chill out where we've got some air conditioning, and he can relax, and I can go out and do some more work if that's necessary. Otherwise, we kind of chill out here for the heat of the day, which is normally from about 10 until sort of 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then I'll go and eat. So we have a centralized feed here, so we all go and eat at the same place.
Oh, nice.
So I'll go and eat, and then I'll come back, he'll eat, and that's pretty much it. So he eats kind of early so that if there's a poaching incident once it gets dark, which is when rhino poachers like to come out and play, he's eaten with enough time that gastric torsion isn't really a risk, which is where the stomach twists because there's too much weight in it. So we go out if there's a call out, basically. So we're here to respond if there's an incident.
Okay. Interesting. Soaring tipped $50 and Conch tipped $47.32, which brought us over our 1K goal. So we're at $1,025. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thanks,
for those
guys.
donations. That's amazing. That's lots of food for Puma. People,
yeah, that's incredible.
About snacks for Puma. That's great. Okay, so let's do. Okay, so this isn't. I'll ask this question and add to it. Danza tipped another $50. Danza, thank you so much.
Oh my God.
So someone asked, or Arezco asked, how does someone get involved with volunteering? Is that even possible right now with COVID? And I'd like to add to that, as viewers, that Rago tipped $100. As viewers learning about this right now that are not necessarily out on the ground in South Africa doing the stuff that you're doing, do you have any advice for them as to what they can do to support anti-poaching initiatives or to support rhino populations or whatever you think is important to share with them? That would be wonderful.
Sure. Okay. So volunteering is not really an option at the moment. COVID has shut all borders in South Africa and lots of borders around us as well. So Africa in general is kind of on lockdown. It varies country to country, but generally speaking, it's on lockdown.
Okay.
Particularly from the United States. So we'll just kind of have to play that by ear. We don't take volunteers out here. We're a secure facility, so we don't have volunteers. We don't have interns. We don't have anybody on site apart from rhinos and the people to keep them alive. It's just kind of too much risk for us. But there are kind of numerous organizations that you can volunteer with and that you can get involved with. So I'd recommend, if you don't already, follow Crash on Instagram, crash.wildlife. Drop a DM in there, and Noel or somebody will get back to you, and they'll be able to direct you better as to kind of areas that you can get involved with and places that you can go to. If you're looking at a career in this and you want to know kind of how to get into it, I did it completely the wrong way. I sort of fell into it by accident. But a military or law enforcement career would certainly help, kind of a military and law enforcement background if you want to go into the anti-poaching side of it. If you're more interested in the pure conservation and research aspect, go to school, pick up a relevant degree, and get out there. There's a whole lot of problems that need fixing. So yeah. Yeah,
that's awesome. Thank you. Aaron tipped $20, Los with $20, Rog with $100. So we're at $1,215 and 39 cents. Guys, thank you so much for your questions today. I say at every podcast, another thing that you guys are doing is by being here. There's about 1,700 people that are watching, so for those of you that are watching and just learning about what's going on, that makes a difference as well. If you are not able to donate, you're doing good by being here and, and making yourself more aware of these issues. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. That's a really good point, actually. So if you want to help out and you aren't in a position to donate, or you don't want to donate, or whatever, that's fine. One way that you can absolutely help out: have a conversation with somebody and talk to them about rhino. Mm-hmm. All right, Puma, good boy. Talk to them about rhino. Explain to them that horn grows back. That trade can absolutely keep them alive. Right. There's an overwhelming scientific consensus now. The South African National Biodiversity Institute published a paper a couple of years back outlining the necessity of trade in white rhino horn to save not only white rhinos but all 5 rhino species by removing the pressure on them from poachers and habitat loss. So if you want to help out, talk to your friends, talk to your coworkers, talk to people at school, talk to your parents, have a chat with them about it, and spread some knowledge.
Great. Thank you so much. So if you guys want to educate yourselves further, you can check out their website. You can do command.org. It'll take you to their website. I tagged their socials in my posts today both on Twitter and on Instagram, so you can find them through there. You can also find their socials at the bottom of their website, like most where you find them. So yeah, they got Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. They're all over the place, so you can find lots of information there. James, thank you so much for your time and for doing this later in the day and for making it work. I know last week we had a little bit of a obstacle.
Yeah, that's a technical issue.
But I'm glad that was resolved and that you're safe out there. So thank you so much for doing this today. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you guys for donating. Really appreciate it.
Speaking of which, yeah, Ayaka just hit $85, which brought us to $1,300. So I'll send you guys the totals today and some of the demographics so you can learn a little bit more about who we talked to today and the reach and all that. So
fantastic.
All right, it was nice to meet you. Thank you so much.
Likewise. Thank you so much, Maya.
All right,
it's been great. Soon. Cheers. Thanks.
Bye. All right. Ayaka, I don't know how to say her name well, but thank you for the $85. One of the coolest guests. He's cool, huh? What an interesting person. And super nice, and also for being isolated for 8 months and not talking to people, super, super articulate. I don't think that I would come out of 8 months of isolation being that well-spoken. That was super interesting. And we kind of got to see Puma, which was cool. We got to see the ear anyway. It's crazy thinking about how, the difference between a working dog and, Bella. How they're the same breed, but they're so different. It's so interesting. So $1,300 raised today for Crash. Bella just sleeps. Okay, yes. She's also... Okay, Riz, true. Riz, I almost timed you out and Cal out. Forget it. We'll talk about that on another stream. Bella's 9 or something. Cal, I almost timed out because Cal was making a joke about Riz's mom, and I felt like your parent. I was gonna moderate the two of you. I was like, boys, relax. Okay, $1,300.39 made today for Crash. That's gone directly to them. Their PayPal was linked today, which makes it so much easier for me. I love podcasts like that. It makes it super, super easy. We went live on time today, which was a miracle. I thought that we were going to have another technical issue, but I'm really glad that we didn't. That was a really cool podcast. I learned a lot. I hope you guys learned a lot. You asked a lot of fantastic questions. The other thing that I want to mention is that this $1,300, there are a few people that come in consistently and tip, the big ones, tip $100, tip $200, the ones, yeah, you can still donate, that come with the big tips. There were $200 tip, $100 tip, whatever. But honestly, every podcast, it goes up to about $1,000 a week in really small increments or smallish increments from a lot of people. It's not just like a bunch of oil princes that are in here, right? It's like lots of people that tip like $3 and $5 and $10 and $20, and it goes up. Like it's sometimes it is, but most of the time it's a lot of people, and that means a lot. I really, really appreciate those of you. If you're tipping $3 or if you're tipping $1, I mean, it's all like, it means so much. So thank you. And the viewership was also really good today. Thank you if you're here watching. I hope you enjoyed that. I thought that was really neat. Hopefully they're able to raise enough money to build that wildlife rehab center over there. That would be really, really cool and really special. And one of the reasons that I was so excited to connect with this organization is because of that. You guys know how I feel about wildlife rehab. Would be with very different species over there, but still really good stuff. So that was wonderful. In the future, I do plan on asking Noelle, the founder, if we can get their pangolin expert on the podcast, because I think that would be really interesting. Thank you for the 5 months. So we'll raise more money for them and get to learn about pangolins at the same time, because they're really interesting. I've been meaning to have a pangolin podcast for a while, so we're getting lucky there. Storm with a $23.66. Thank you so much. Okay, we have questions for the quiz. Thanks to Chuck. Hearts in chat for Chuck actually helps me so much to stay focused and not have to write the questions. You have no idea. Okay. So, the way the quiz works. There are 5 questions. 20 seconds per question. You have to get the question correct the fastest to rack up the most points to win the quiz. If you win and you're not already a sub to my channel, then I will gift you a sub to my channel. If you are already subbed to my channel, then I will gift you a sub to a channel of your choice, or I will add an additional $5 if that's what you'd like me to do. Max linked an Imgur about managing your access. You have to enable access to do the quiz. Space linked it as well. You have to enable access so that I know who you are. Rowdy, thank you for the $5.95. If you don't enable access, then it'll say contestant number blank, and you won't be able to win because I won't know who you are. Bernie forever with $75.95. Bernie. He said all my homies hate poachers. Dude. Thank you for the $75. 2B2K, thank you for the 16 months also. $1,400 today. That's a good week for the podcast. Thank you guys so much. Okay, I am going to set up the quiz. It'll take me a minute. Okay, give me the length of the intro song. Oh, Allison. Little hot pocket. Okay, give me a minute. I'll be back. Oh no. Oh no, whoops. Never mind. All right, here we go. 5 questions. 20 seconds per question. I am about to send the questions to you guys. Are you ready? Make sure you click enable access. You can do it on mobile or on your desktop. Here we go. Sending the questions to you guys now. Here we go. Sending. All right. One winged boy, you're gonna be okay. First question. How many hectares does Crash patrol or does James patrol? I didn't think you'd see the name of it. I forgot. It was an accident. Okay. Is it 7.5k hectares? Is it 2k hectares? Is it 3 to 4k hectares? Or is it 6 to 8,000 hectares? Kind of a tough question. I know the acres. Yeah, me too. The correct answer is 3 to 4k, which is about 7,500 acres. Bernie's already wrong. Danny and Cal got it easy. KZ got it easy. Cynical, easy. Honeybee, easy. 89 of you got that correct. Ooh, that was a little bit tricky because the 7.5k is in acres. I am sorry for that. Next question. Chuck. Sneaky. How many scent receptors are in Puma's nose? Is it 100 million? Is it 220 million? Is it 13? Or is it 30,000? I forgot to see who got that right the fastest. I'm sorry. The correct answer is 220 million. That's what James said, which is a lot. How many people got that correct? 109. Dang! These are tough. Okay. Who got that right the fastest? Flowy. And then Tripod, and then contestant number 63. Cindy is in the lead. And then Tripod. And then Cal. But it's not Squid. Next question. Question number 3. What are rhino horns made of? Are they made of soft tissue? Are they made of keratin? Are they made of ivory? Or are they made of metal? Three, 2, 1. I wish they were made of metal. Yeah, that'd be kind of sick. Okay. The correct answer is keratin, like our hair, like our fingernails. $218 people got that correct. Ivory is a good guess. Are they made of creatine? No. Okay. 13 people said metal. Interesting. Who got that right the fastest? Reap got it right the fastest, then Conch, then contestant number 540. Squid in 4th, not bad. Cindy is still in the lead, followed by Tripod and Cal. Next question. What is not a benefit of conservationists shaving rhino horns? Oh my gosh. Does it lower incentive for poachers? Does it prevent rhinos from killing each other? Does it make rhinos easier to track? Or is it good because it helps them obtain horns without killing them? That was a lot to read. I understand. What is not a benefit of shaving rhino horns? One of them is that, or it's not a benefit that it makes them easier to track. That's the correct answer. 115 of you got that correct. Well done. Shaving the horns does lower the incentive for poachers to kill those animals. It prevents the rhinos from killing each other. They can be super aggressive towards each other. You don't have to kill the animal to be able to put those horns on the market. Contestant number 521 and contestant number 325 got that right the fastest. Doesn't matter who's in the lead. Tripod. Then space, then contestant number 951. Who's that? Last question. Are you ready? Who's gonna pull ahead of tripod? Or is anyone pulling ahead of tripod? Smicky, thank you for the Twitch Prime. Poaching for rhino horns is what type of poaching? Is it bushmeat poaching? Is it good poaching? Is it syndicate poaching? Or is it mean poaching? That's a okay. It can also be mean. This is one of those, like, you need to pick the answer that's the most correct. But if you selected mean, you're also correct. But the correct answer is syndicate. 199 people got that correct. Final results, Dr. Horn. Dr. Horn. Congratulations. Dis, you're just mad because you did bad. It's not squid. Alright, Dr. Horn, are you a sub? I don't know what color he is. He's not a sub. Alright, here we go. Literally didn't even load my page yet. Alright, great. Congratulations, you're a sub! Well done. Okay, that was the quiz today. Kind of a tough quiz, but I'm not mad about it. That was a good time. Thank you, Chuck, for your help with that. Thank you to everyone who's here. I know it's also a different time for the podcast, but thank you for... Give him another? Okay, you want a different sub? I don't know what color he is. I don't know if I'm gonna see him. It's actually not moving that fast. Said Maka, It's red. Another $5, you want to sub somewhere else? Wabber, thank you for the sub. And then... Oh, he's live. I hate when they're live. They're gonna be so confused. Gifting is anonymous. I don't even know how to do that. It's too late.
You have to use your own room.
But I don't want this outfit. That's better.
You're gifted.
Yay! Speedrun!
Maya! Maya!
Hello.
Thank you for gifting us up, Maya.
Oh,
Is that real Maya?
Real one?
Is her name just Maya on Twitch now?
I think, yeah, it is.
Wow, hi Maya.
Oh,
Hi, Maya.
I saw you learning how to cheat, Zoil. Huh?
Cool. Okay. Sorry for gifting. Sorry because I gifted one sub. That's weird. If I was gifting Nim subs, I would gift a lot more than one. Okay. Here we go. $1,405.95. Weird flex. That's not a flex. That's not me flexing. That's if I were to go into someone's channel and gift them one sub to gift them subs, you guys would give me so much flack for that. And now you're okay, whatever. I'm done. I can't. Dottie, thank you for the 2 months. No one cares. Oh my god. I'm so glad this is the podcast, because if I was actually streaming, I'd be so annoyed. $1,405.95. Twitch is an untapped reservoir for doing good. Thank you if you were here watching today. Thank you if you were here learning today. She reads the one negative comment. Oh my god. I'm triggered. I gotta go. Thank you, Chuck, for your help with the questions. Thank you to my team for the help with the podcast. As always, I really appreciate it, and I'm really glad that worked out. So it was a good time. I need to figure out. Wait, I need to host somebody. I'll host Nim. Cool. Okay. The outro. Oh. Shoot. Thank you for watching. I love you guys. Bye. I started working in exotics, 4 years ago or something like that? Working at zoos and getting internships and stuff like that. Then I fell in love with birds of prey at one of the zoos that I interned at.
One of the most popular streamers right now.
This is Jupiter. He's 8 barn owl.
That is insane!
Yo, 1.3K.
Thank you
Thank
guys
you.
for donating. Thank you for
I'm literally tearing up. Because, alright, this is not supposed to happen!
This was the 40th episode, by the way, today. Good shit. But I was talking to Twitch is an untapped reservoir for doing good. I will send you this cute thank you card. It has some names of some donators and some viewers on it.
That's awesome.
And I'll tweet this out to you.
We're super excited. 22. That's awesome.
Those of you who donate, thank you so much. It means the world to me, and it means the world to those guests. It's still really important that you're here and that you're watching, and that's amazing also. Thanks, chat. Bye. I started working